Tell me why.
Hey Pleasant View friends, I'm back for another Find It Out Friday. I hear you're all in the middle of another experiment this time. That's great. I'm super excited that you're continuing to investigate things you notice going on around us. This time I understand you've put some eggs in liquids and are trying to figure out which ones discolor the eggs. And because I got some questions from you all, and also because I stuck my head in your classrooms and was looking at your eggs, I noticed there's not just color changes happening. There's some changes to your egg shells themselves. That's what I really want to talk about today. So let's get going. I don't have a very exciting reason for why your eggs changed colors. All it has to do with is the eggshell being porous. And that means some things get through and some things don't. Turns out an eggshell is kind of like a golf ball. It's got dimples all over the outside of it. Except they're really teeny tiny dimples. So when you put it in something dark, those dark pigments or hues get trapped in those tiny little dimples. Well, when enough of those dimples are filled up with dark stuff that you can't see the white ones anymore, it starts to look dark. So I'd really like to talk about your eggs that are having more changes than just the colors. Some of them started to get rough or bumpy and maybe even looked like they were starting to lose some of their shell. Well, that's because they actually are. See, eggshells, like everything around us, are made up of molecules. And molecules, in turn, are made up of tiny little pieces called atoms. Kind of like Legos. So you can build a Lego house out of lots of different types of smaller pieces of Legos. And you can take them apart and put them back together. And like Legos, when you take a molecule apart, you might not put it back together the same way. In fact, if you take apart a Lego house and use a few pieces to build a car, you won't be able to build the same house. You'll be short some pieces. Same things happen with molecules. When they fall apart, sometimes little pieces of them try to come back together in a different thing. Then there's not enough left to make up what you wanted before. The molecule that makes up an eggshell is calcium carbonate. It's made up of one calcium, that's the Ca, a carbon, and 3 oxygens. You can see in the bottom of the picture how the carbon's kind of in the middle, surrounded by the oxygens and then the calcium sticking out on the one side. The eggs that you noticed having changes to the shell, they were probably in something acidic or really sugary. The acids actually get in and break apart the calcium carbonate, just like you can stomp on a Lego house. And when that happens, it can't get back together in the right way anymore, and there's not enough left for it to maintain the eggshell. I want you to imagine with me that these bottle caps represent a molecule of calcium carbonate. The purple one on the edge is the calcium. The red in the middle is carbon. The 3 blue ones around the outside, those are the oxygen. If you bring an acid in, it's going to knock them all apart. When they're not connected anymore, the carbon and 2 of the oxygens will come together to form carbon dioxide. That's given off as a gas, which is why you see the little bubbles form on the edge of your egg. I also want to talk about your eggs that looked like they had some things growing on them when you take them out. You might have had some mold issues, but probably not. Probably what we were looking at was the eggs in super sugary drinks. Turns out the sugars in the drinks get stuck in those dimples of the eggshell just like the pigments do. They get stuck in there, and then when you take them out, they sort of crystallize and start to grow sugar on the outside of the egg. Something to think about, first graders, is that you picked this experiment to see which things would stain an eggshell because you noticed things stain our teeth. You found out that those things that are staining eggshells are also damaging them. Same thing's happening with your teeth. Teeth don't have a calcium carbonate shell, but they do have enamel, and the things that stain them can also damage them. I want you to look at this egg that I left in some vinegar. The shell's almost completely gone. There's nothing protecting it anymore. It has a membrane holding it together, but it's pretty easy to damage this egg. That might be worth thinking about next time you're deciding whether or not you're gonna have a glass of water or a soda. Thanks for spending your Friday with me, first graders. I really enjoyed finding out what was going on with your eggs, and I hope you enjoyed learning about it. Give me lots of new questions for next week. I like digging into the things that you guys are interested in. And I have a surprise for you this week. I gave your teachers each one of these eggs. So there's one in your classroom you can check out. Try not to squeeze it though. Your teacher will have a big mess to clean up. See you next week.